All right, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Let's Stay Together Talk Show. Your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo, Brenda McCain. I'm going to suspend from the titles because there's too many. She got too many titles on her name. She's just my baby, my girl, my boo. How you doing today, babe?
I'm good.
You good?
It's Black History Month.
Yep, Black History Month. The
we got
month,
an extra day.
the month that they give black people the less days of the month in the year, and they probably mad because it's leap year. We got an extra day to celebrate Black History. And for those of you all are like me, Black History is celebrated 365. But I do appreciate we have this. Speaking of that, we're going to make sure next Tuesday, make sure you're on with me. I didn't say with Brenda, with me, because Brenda will be on assignment. She's going somewhere that she has to attend to, and I'll be on the radio show on my own. So for those of y'all that are going to not be here because Brenda's not here, please just come on, because I know she's the star that y'all be looking for. But just join me anyway, because we're going to have some original members of the Black Panther Party discuss the history of the Black Panther Party next Tuesday. So you definitely want to be on the show for that. Today, babe, it's a wonderful day in Chicagoland area here. Things are great. Any kind of special things you want to shout out before we go?
No, I don't think so.
Wow, she's got limited words today. Oh my goodness.
Oh, no.
You know how would you come out and say, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness"?
No, don't
Speaking of things that we're gonna do here, if you haven't been listening to the radio show, all of our songs have been for the artists that are going to be at the SOAR Awards, the 2024 SOAR Awards. It's going to be for March the 4th. You got to get out to Rockford, Illinois. SOAR Radio has put Rockford on the map with these great award ceremonies. And once again, they're going to have some great people on there, like honoring Marvin Sapp, Ricky Dillard, Travis Green, Kim Burrell. Going to have some great singers there. Jacqueline Carr is going to be there. You're going to have so many people. Todd Delaney is hosting it. I mean, it's just amazing. And tickets up. You could probably still get tickets. If Kenny doesn't tell me you can't get tickets, you could probably still go to Ticketmaster.com. I know they were selling out like hotcakes, but if you're in anywhere around the Chicagoland area and you're in Michigan, Wisconsin, hey, we got people coming from France, so you can come from anywhere. You want to be in Rockville, Illinois on March the 4th, 2024 for the 2024 SOAR Radio Awards. If we don't have anything else, I do want to give a shout out to my guy out there in Alabama. You know who that is, don't you? Your nephew?
Oh, my Adonis.
Adonis. He had gave me a prayer list for someone who is needing in prayer. So we're praying for her, Adonis, letting you know we are praying for her and the family at this present time. Brenda's probably trying to figure out, what am I talking about? I got connections with him too. I got connections with him too. So we're just praying for them. So what we got, we're going to talk about today, babe.
We're talking about on Christian Real, season of waiting. Your next step after your waiting is over.
So if you haven't been listening to the show, which is a shame on you, we have been talking about for the whole entire month, or at the beginning of the year, about the season of waiting, and this is the conclusion of that. And it was basically saying, that now that your season of waiting is over, what should you do? What you should have been doing is that you should have been preparing yourself for the next step that God is going to bring you through. I talked about how Satan was more concerned about your outcome, that when you're going through your season of waiting, Satan is more concerned about you now in your season of waiting than he is when you come out of it or when you go into it, because he's worried about what God is going to do with you. He's molding you, preparing you, making you, setting you up for blessings, and teaching you the fundamentals of following and believing and trusting in God. And it becomes a period of time where Satan is concerned not only because of who you are or who you're going to be, but what you might do when you step out of that season of waiting and to decide to declare to others how God has blessed you through that time. I said, also, you need to look at your light while you're walking in the darkness, because there's a light that God has before you. Put a lamp upon his feet. That's the kind of light you need to look for. But now, as we're about to really step out of this situation, I wrote some things down here that we have to be prepared for, baby. One of the things we got to be prepared for is that we have to be prepared to move. Once God has done all of that, has prepared us through the season of waiting, has taught us, has molded us, has made us, has defined us, he says, I know the plans that I have for you. He's all of a sudden molded you, and you went through those trials and tribulations, those hard times you was going through. You didn't even know if you wanted to continue or not, but you trusted in the Lord in all thy heart, and you leaned not onto your own understanding, but in all thy ways you acknowledge God, and he direct thy paths. And now you're about to step out of that, and God has prepared you. Say you're ready to move. You got to move. And I'm going to give you John 14:23, and says, Jesus said, anyone who loves me will obey my teachings. He's taught you some things. So now you've got to go out and move according to what he has taught you, how he has molded you, how he's made you, how he's confirmed you. And you got to start moving in the direction that God has placed you in, that is against where you started from. And be careful. I'm going to talk about this in my baby talk about it. Be careful about where your movement goes and who you move with. But baby, being prepared to move, what you got to say for me?
You better be ready to move, because like you said, once he relinquish you, you have to put everything that you done learned in action. But sometimes, if you're not prepared and ready, and it's like, even though you know God is pushing you, the Spirit is telling you, you need to do this, and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to step out on that super, super strong faith to do that. But it's like, if he can give you all the tools during your period of waiting, go out. He's not going to, what is that saying, bring you this far to leave you alone. You might not get it right when you first leave out the gate and doing something. When we say move, you mean witnessing to other people,
Witness,
and tell them how good God has been. And and just put it all out there on the table, whatever it is. Like a prime example, Sunday, young lady. Okay, what? Look, oh, okay. Young lady Sunday, pastor had asked anybody had a hard time coming to church. And you know, a lot of people, that's embarrassing because just like, I don't want nobody to know my financial problems or anything. But I mean, she looked weary when she came in, and I'm so glad she stood up and God just blessed her because she was obedient to what God is telling you to do, no matter what people think or what you think they might say. She walked out with a big blessing.
Yeah, and you know the thing about it is that movement basically means that now you've been taught something. You have to walk by faith and not by sight. You have to believe that that season of waiting was something that was a blessing for you, and not be stagnant. Because sometimes we don't. You know, I'm not sure if God wants me to move now. I need to talk to my pastor. I need to talk to my friend. No, you've already been talking to God. And when he gives you that spiritual unction to move, you're prepared. And let me just say this. Might get some trouble with some people. If God is moving you and you are in line with that movement, he hasn't given you the spirit of fear. So that is something that you are receiving yourself.
Well,
For the
Satan
Bible
dropping
says,
it into her spirit.
yeah, but the Bible says that God has not given the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. If you've been in a season of waiting and you've been faithful to hear from the word of the Lord, then you will move because your spirit is connected now with God's spirit, and it knows how to move. It's almost like when you turn on your car, you put it in reverse. The car doesn't sit there and say, should I go in reverse? If it's working and it's not doing that, it goes in reverse because it's been given a command to move in that direction. When God is giving your spirit of command to move in a direction, you don't question the movement, you move. Second thing I want to say, because I know we got Sheldon coming up. Watch who you discuss God's plans for your life. This is very
Pray on that
serious.
one.
Watch the people that you share your spiritual waiting, your season of waiting, because some people will try to talk you out of it. And I mean, this can be family, friends, anyone. Because when you're in that time with God, that's you and God. And nobody else should be a part of that relationship, because it is a sacred relationship. It's an anointed relationship. It is a passionate relationship. It's you having a strong, powerful relationship with God. And nobody else should be a part of that. That is between you and him. But when we decide to say, girl, I'm going through this season of waiting. I always say, girl, guy, because guys don't really talk, but girls do. Guys are just stay in there and don't say anything. But when you do that, you don't want to share what God is telling you to someone that may speak you or talk you out of that. Are you sure that's God? Girl, because you've been going through a lot of trouble. You sure that's God? That's, like that? Are you sure? I don't know if I can handle that. Be careful, because this is God's plans for your life. Not your mama's, not your father's, not your boyfriend, not your husband, not your wife. And I'm not saying be secretive, but you have a relationship where God is moving you. And God is not going to be the author of confusion. So he's not going to cause any confusion between you and your husband unless your husband or your spouse is out of line with God already. Hate to tell you that, but you need to be careful about how you move. And give you this scripture. 2 Timothy 4:2 says, preach the word, be prepared in season and out season. It says, correct, rebuke, encourage. You got to be really ready to correct yourself that you are following God. Rebuke anyone who doesn't see or tries to talk you out of what you're doing. I'm not saying I rebuke you in Jesus' name. I mean, you ain't got to get all, crazy with it. But spiritually, you just have to rebuke that other spirit that's trying to change the direction that you're going in. You know, I can. I'm laughing right now because I can just see somebody. Girl, I rebuke you. You know, this ain't Jesus talking to Peter. Now. You just spiritually you just rebuke it because you know it's counterintuitive to what God has taught you, and then you've got to be encouraging. You have to now, from that season of waiting, babe. You got to be able to help somebody else. Because God is going to place you when he moves you into a position where somebody else needs the encouragement to know that God can take them from the darkness to light, and he'll put you there. And to give you one example, I said this before quickly. I was getting the divorce, and first marriage, second marriage is much better. And this guy came to me crying because he was having a problem with his girlfriend. And he was thinking about committing suicide. Now, I was in my season of waiting, but God entrusted me to talk to him. Now, I'm talking to him for 45 minutes in my car waiting for someone. And then I help him, and I'm still going through my season. What I'm saying to you is that there has to be a period of when you're stepping out. I'm not talking about what I did. When you're stepping out, that you have to be willing to move in the direction that God wants you to help someone else. What you got for me, babe?
I totally agree.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at the time. You said be conscious of the time.
We got 15 minutes, though. We got about 10 because I got to play some music.
Okay. I totally agree with all of that. You have to be ready to move. Most people who on the fence with God and what God is going to do will say, oh my God, God is watching my every move. Okay, he taught me this. So if I don't do it, I don't get my blessings. Well, basically, you're prolonging your blessings because if God then instilled all of the good, nourishing things in you to help someone and you holding back, it's like you're not ready for greater. You're not ready to go to the next level of what God has for you because you're sitting there holding all the goods that he didn't bestowed upon you. And it's like, what was it, the talents in the Bible? God gave 3 people some talents and one just buried it or kept it buried. But it's like when God's giving you a gift to do something or encouraging you to go out there and move, do it. Like, I mean, it's just as clear as day when you have a relationship with God to hear his voice, not your girlfriends, not your dudes that you hang out with. Hear God's voice and he will guide you to what you need to do.
Yeah. And the last thing I'm going to say here is that, and I spoke about this, be ready for roadblocks. Once you're stepping out of your season of waiting and God has called you to move, be ready for roadblocks. I said earlier when I was talking about this in January that Satan is more concerned about your outcome. He's going to try to change your outcome because he's concerned about you stepping out of that season prepared to move for God and do his will. And that will always include connecting with others. And so he's concerned about that. So I don't want you to get there and all of a sudden, oh, I made it through my season of waiting. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. There's going to be some weapons coming, though. You're right. They won't prosper. But don't sit there and say, I thought after I got out of this season of waiting, I wasn't going to have no more problems. You will.
You're going to have a whole bunch more.
You're going to have some are going to come to you. But here's the thing. Because now you've been spiritually molded by God, that's when the weapons don't prosper. Because God needs you to have faith to make sure weapons don't prosper. Because if you allow it in, then that's you allowing it in there. But you've been strengthened by God. And that's what he told Peter. You know, Satan wants to sift you as wheat, but I have strengthened you that you can go out and help your brother, paraphrasing. So you need to be ready because there are going to be some more roadblocks. And 1 Peter 5:8 says, be Alert and sober-minded, your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion for someone he can devour. I said this, and I want to say it again before we go off. Satan is concerned about your outcome. He does not want you to come out of this with the strength and power that God has prepared for you, because he is afraid of what you might do for others. He'll let you go. Oh, if the only thing you're going to do is take all this seasoning that God has given you and keep it to yourself, then okay, fine. That ain't going to, I'm not going to, you're not going to get everybody. But he's concerned about the light that you're now shining being an encouragement for someone else. I know this happened to you, Brenda. So you'll be in a church somewhere, and someone, girl, where you get those earrings from? Girl, where you get that dress from? Oh, you look so nice. We're a theater, because they're seeing something about you that is glowing, that they like, that entices them. Satan doesn't want your spirit to glow and entice others, because if it does that, somebody's going to come to you and say, girl, you just seem like you're just so blessed. There's a glow. There's a spiritual glow on you. What happened? And then now it's time for you to testimony. Give your testimony. Because that's why he says here, correct, rebuke, and encourage. You got to start encouraging, because that person is asking for a reason. Because there's something that you have went through that they are going through, and they need some help from someone they saw that seems to have the light of God. And that's your time to give the testimony and say, girl, I was going through the same as you was. But God did this. I'm telling you, it was rough. I mean, be honest with it. But Satan doesn't want that to happen, because when it does, then she may tell somebody else about it, or she may start her own journey. And then you might be coming up to church one time when it's testimony time at Baptist churches. I don't know if they do the other churches, but Baptist church, testimony time. And you tell your testimony, and it changes someone's spirit. We had on the show one time here where the guy came on, he was from another faith, and said he was going to commit suicide. And we changed the whole show just to talk to him. And it probably didn't bless anybody else, but it blessed him. Now, there's a good chance that it did. But the fact of the matter is that you got to be ready to be a witness as to what God has done for you through that season of waiting. And Satan is going to be concerned about that. So be ready for the roadblocks, because they will come.
They gonna come hard. We not even gonna lie to you, because once you done put it out there and God know, okay, I got my little soldier, she's ready. Satan like, okay, I'm ready for your little soldier. I'm about to shoot these weapons, even though, like we said, they not gonna form, but he gonna try. And if he don't get you, he gonna get the people you trying to reach and talk to have them have negative thoughts about what God can do. Only thing I know is my testimony. I always stay true to her, because I've been through a lot of storms like most people. And with that, I love sharing my story, my backstory. I love sharing with people the blessings of God, the favor of God, what God never left me. But if you been blessed by God during your season of waiting, and you sitting here not doing anything about it, I'm just going to say shame on you. Because to me, it's like, okay, it's the whole thing been worthless. You've been in the season of waiting for 4 to 5 months or 2 to 3 years. Do something. Do something about it.
Yeah, that's so true. And also, let me say this. God did, dropped into my spirit. Don't be afraid if you go to rehab. Which means don't be afraid if you have to go back into a season of waiting because something happened that made you fall. As that song says, we fall down, but we get up. You might have to go to rehab. You may have to go back into a season of waiting so you can relearn some things and be honest with yourself. Hey, I got a C on this one. I need to go back and re-examine what I did wrong, because maybe you shared something to somebody and it wounded your spirit, or a relationship broke up or something like that, and then you just went off course. Don't be afraid to acknowledge that you need help, that you got to go, to spiritual rehab, SA, and rehab, SR, rehab, spiritual rehab. Isn't that right? Rehab, yeah. Spiritual rehab.
You got a comment.
Okay.
Catherine says, West says, reminded me of this verse, but in your hearts rever Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. 1 Peter 3:15.
Good verse.
Is it more? Yeah, 1 Peter 3:15.
Good verse. That is so true, that you always have to give an answer for, and be prepared to do that. And let me tell you something. You go through this spiritual season of waiting, you'll have joy if you have faith and believe that God can do that. But again, I don't want you to feel that there's everybody's going to come out of this thing ready to go. You don't know how long your season of waiting is going to be. You don't know how much God has prepared for you. But hear this. God knows when you're ready, and he'll release you. He's not upset about the fact that you fail, because we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. We all fall. I've been in the ministry for over 30 something years, and there are times, all the time, that I feel that I failed in something in doing for the Lord. I got mad about something, and I lost my temper, and I'm like, that's not giving a good example of the Lord. And I challenge myself constantly. I don't allow it to, wound me or make me feel as though I can't continue. I just go to rehab. I go to the Lord and say, God, forgive me, God, for I have, fallen off course. Please direct me again to do your will. And tomorrow I'll start over again. But it's gonna be a process. And God is always going to have you in a period where he's teaching you and molding you. So be prepared for that. Hey, I got a couple of music I'm gonna play. I think I've cut my time off on that, but we're gonna play some songs real quick. And we're going to be right back. I don't know what that sound is coming behind me. But we're going to play some music here. Most of the music we're playing is from SOAR Radio's 2024 SOAR Radio Awards. And we should be able to play this music, and we'll be right back. What is that noise? Okay. We off? Hello, Kenny. Okay. So right now we're on Facebook, everybody. Facebook and YouTube. So if you're on those channels, forgive me. We have some little static in the background. Kind of threw me off. But what we got, we're going to talk about here today. But just again, through your season of waiting, when you have to know how to move, be careful of who you share God's plan for your life. And the next thing is that be ready for roadblocks, because they will come, because Satan is more concerned about your outcome and what you're going to do to help others to receive the blessings of the Lord.
Ready for a story? Now, we know love comes in all different facets of life. And this one is so cute to me. Couple lives and travels the U.S. in their giant truck. I never thought I'd be able to see nearly all 50 states. They got all of them except Vermont, New York, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. This is a young couple, I think 28 and 31. She called herself the Passenger Princess. They decided to get married and put all their stuff in storage because he's a truck driver. and she wanted to be a part of his world and his life. The truck is huge that she could even cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner while he's driving. They got a great accommodation within the truck for sleeping quarters. I mean, it's untraditional way to live your life, but she said he's the love of her life. Where he goes, she shall follow. And I think that's just too cute. You could tell there's no kids involved just yet. You don't have anything you want to say about
I'm
that?
just waiting for you to
That
bring me
good
into the
news?
store. Story. That's all. You just made a comment.
Oh, so what do you think about this, babe?
I mean, I think it's a cute scenario where they're getting together. They're young. That's what I say. They're young, so they still have that time to do that. But it's interesting. I don't know if I want to do that myself. But doing all those states and stuff like that, it's hard. So, young couple. I mean, on the road trucking like that during the nights, thing. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that myself, but it is nice
Travel
that
500 miles a day.
yeah, that's 500 miles a day. I mean, it is nice that they're doing something like that with each other as a young. It gives them an adventure. They can say all the wonderful things that they've done and seen, and it helps. It helps their relationship. So to me, as that, they'll have something to fall back on. They can say, hey, we went to all these states. We was doing this. We all in the truck and stuff like that. And of course, they're making money, and they're probably saving a lot of that money too, because they don't have to worry about, rent, paying utilities. I'm quite sure they got to stop somewhere and maybe look at TV. I think the thing also said that
They got a full house in that sleeper truck.
yeah, but they were basically saying also that they stop at rest locations to shower and exercise. So I mean, they obviously don't have a shower in there, and I'm like, you got to be stopping at some nice little rest places if you got somewhere you can shower. So it makes me.
Remember, where was we headed to? Memphis or Alabama? It's a place we stop at when you gas up, and they have the showers in the gas station. Do you remember that one?
Only place I can think of was Boomtown, and
No, it wasn't
okay.
Bowling.
But that might, I don't know about that, but I mean it's great. So if it for their relationship it works out, it is a great savings. They can probably save some money up and do some good things, and then when they're ready to to stop all that and do something else, they should have a good nest egg to move forward.
That, like I said, untraditional way of living, but you're young, no kids, you want to see the world, you're doing a triple thing right here and there. So kudos to this couple. I think her name is Mila. I forgot his name, but kudos to that. But it just trips me out that a lot of people was like, well, you guys really want to do that? I know some people who are married to truckers, and they wish that they probably could do that, spend more time with them, because they are on the road a lot. So, I mean, I forgot what job she does, a content writer or something.
Okay.
And she works while, he's working, so it works out good.
What's our next story?
Well, the next stories, I have to move this paper real quick. Sorry about that. Ethan Crumley's mother. Okay. Jennifer convicted of manslaughter in a historic Michigan school shooting. So, now, this one is on the fence, babe. A lot of people is like, why should she have to have 4 counts and go to prison because of what her son did? You was the mother that took him to go get a gun at 15. And then a week later, he killed up people. You okay with that? So they didn't waste no time giving her the book and sending her away. But like I said, some people are on the fence about she shouldn't have to pay for it, and he should just go to a mental thing or get his stuff together.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think she got 10 or 12 years or something like that. But I was a little bit on the fence with it too, because it's very hard to be responsible for something that your child will do when he's at school. But this woman did help out with the situation because they bought a gun for this kid. They wasn't spending enough time with him. He told them that he was having some mental issues. He was seeing things, and they kind of looked past that. It's going to be interesting because you're going to find out how that's going to work with other situations.
Yeah.
So we're about to get ready to get back on the air right now, everybody. All right, everybody, welcome back to Let's Stay Together Talk Show. Your host, Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo. We're about to get ready to get to our new caller, but I want to shout this out again. Make sure you're listening to SOAR Radio because you're going to have the SOAR Awards, 2024 SOAR Awards are coming up soon, and you don't want to miss that. That's March the 4th, 2022, SOAR Radio in Rockford, Illinois. Going to have all the stars, gospel stars there. So if you like gospel music, you need to get to trucking, as we was talking about that other story, out there to Rockford, Illinois, for the 2024 SOAR Radio Awards. Speaking about an award winner person, we've got an award winning person on our show. I mean, Sheldon is like, I don't know. I don't want to say Sheldon is a special guest or guest. Sheldon is, I don't know how to describe Sheldon other than someone that he's like he's like he lives at the house but he doesn't live here.
Right.
He's like a family member that we don't see that much, and every time he gets on the show, we're glad he came on the show because he has a plethora of knowledge. This brother is just doing all kinds of things, and we're always happy to have him on our show. You got to explain to me that Daishiki picture I saw on Facebook, but we'll talk about that.
That was the
Also,
richest
I mean,
man in
I
the
thought I'm
world.
looking at him like, what is he? A king of? He's a king of Africa now too. I
Yeah.
mean, he went to Izam. Well, not Izam. You didn't went to Africa. I can't say the name now, and all of a sudden he became a king. I mean, because he looked
Yeah.
like all that royalty. I'm like, okay, we got royalty on the show.
Well, you ready for me to introduce?
No, I'm still talking.
Oh.
Sheldon's good to have you. Let Brenda do her thing.
All right.
We didn't know how to introduce him. He is Chicago Fly Guy, radio host, MC, and the Dream Maker. Now we know he's a king as well.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
His name is Sheldon Smith. He then came back from Africa. He is the richest man in the world. And he had a big tiger in front of him, I
Yeah.
believe. I'm like, that was something. But our topic, because this is Black History Month, our topic is MAFA. Man, you can say something with that. MAAFA, the African Holocaust or Holocaust. So welcome, Smitty. All of
Welcome.
That,
Thank
I
you.
break you down to Smitty. Welcome,
That's
Smitty.
okay. That's because, like Rick said, we are family.
Yeah.
I am the guest that's always at the house that don't live at the house. I'm always at the right address. That's how
Right.
There you go.
I thank you all for once again allowing me to hold space with you for a moment. I am here to talk about the Ma'afa, but before we get into the Ma'afa, to Rick's question, yes, I was King Mansa Musa. I was asked to portray the life of King Mansa Musa for Trinity's Ma'afa kickoff moment on Sunday, this past first Sunday. Every year, Trinity United Church of Christ does it big for Black History. And so this year we were celebrating the first Sunday, African Kings, and I was asked to play the royalty of King Mansa Musa, which was really an exclusive role to play. I had to research him and dive into his life, and I was able to do a solo recording as King Mansa Musa that the church played, and I have now access to, which was like a monologue, actually. And so he was the wealthiest man in history. He was Islamic. He was big on education. He was known for his lavish gifts of gold. Because he was rich, he was also generous. He did extravagant Hajj pilgrimages to Mecca. We know that in the Islam faith, they do pilgrimages. The purpose of the pilgrimage is to cleanse your soul from the sins of the world. And so that is the point of that. And so he did that. And then lastly, in current day value, the fortune of King Mansa Musa would be worth $400 billion.
Mm.
So I got to live Hound the Hog for a weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Well, at least for 3 hours, huh?
oh my God, I enjoyed it. It was really a pleasure. And I think that I did that gentleman justice.
Yeah. So I'm sure you did. So what's this subject you're gonna be talking about?
So tonight, let's stay together, family. We are going to be talking about the Ma'afa, as I just stated. Ma'afa is the African Holocaust, and Ma'afa means tragedy or great disaster. And the Ma'afa is affiliated with the Atlantic slave trade. It's about the Middle Passage. And this took place between the 16th and 19th century, where the slave trade was taking place, where Europeans and others, because there were Spanish people involved as well. In fact, I think the first slave trade was in Brazil. And so, but these slave traders would come to the coast of Africa, predominantly West Africa, Central Africa, and Angola. That's where the most Africans were captured from. And they were shackled. After they were captured, they were taken aboard a vessel, which was the ship. They were brought to what the Africans called the New World, which was the United States. And then they were sold into slavery. You have to remember that Africans were not seen as human, although if you pinch their flesh, it would hurt. If you cut their flesh, they would bleed just like you and I. But they were viewed as cargo. They were viewed as property. And so they were taken for the purpose of working for no wage. They grew tobacco. They plucked cotton. Most of these people ended up living and dying on a plantation with no real identity. So if you ever visit Savannah, Georgia is a very historical place in the U.S. I had the pleasure of going there, going to the First African Baptist Church where the Underground Railroad took place. There are still holes in the bottoms of the floor because those crawl spaces, those holes granted air for oxygen for the slaves. And there's a cemetery near the church. And if you go to the cemetery, you will see on some of the old tombstones, there's one name there. There's a first given name, just like you saw in the movie Roots. When Kunta Kinte died, they had Toby written on the tombstone, and then his daughter, who was portrayed as Kizzy by Leslie Uggams, she scratched it out and wrote Kunta Kinte because that was his birth name.
Right.
And so that's how these Africans lived. And it's sad, the Ma'afa, between, I believe, 10 to 15 million Africans.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm
Yes.
gonna raise my hand for you.
Okay.
She's gonna raise her hand and cut you off. But go ahead.
Yeah, because I want to. It's so much information. How many people died during this trip overseas? How many Africans died during this? Do you know?
So it was about 10 to 15 million Africans that died over the courses of these transporting this cargo, the slaves. These people died as a result of disease on the ship because they were beaten. And those wounds developed infections and they didn't care for them. Some jumped overboard because they knew they were going into captivity. They were going to be slaves. And as the old Negro spiritual goes, I'd rather die and be free than be a slave. And so some went overboard. And so there's sharks in that water. There's, that water was salty. So if they did develop wounds, and to cleanse them after, now think about it, your cargo. So they're under the bottom of the ship, just like sacks of potatoes, cargo. They're defecating on themselves. If there's illness, they're sick on themselves. If there is disease, it's spreading amongst them down there. It's not clean down there. It's not sanitized down there. And then you bring them up top aboard the vessels, and you're going to quote unquote bathe them by throwing salt water on them from the ocean. And that's not purifying anything. And so it was a horrific, horrific experience. And so when we look at the Ma'afa in its totality, and we're talking about the slave trade, this was one of the most horrific experiences in Black history. And I know that I know that Jewish people had a Holocaust, and I know that they were stripped and similar to Africans. Families were separated. They were gassed. They were put in gas chambers. There was a lot of level of cruelty to that. And so as we look at the African Holocaust and the African history, it didn't even, for us, it didn't stop at slavery, because then came Jim Crow. And so the fight in the 21st century still continues for Africans and African Americans. This was such that it destroyed a lot of Africans, and it has lingering effects. The fact that they were stolen from their native land, they were vulnerable. So you think about it, their way of life was out in the open, basically. They did not live behind closed doors. And so if you pull up to the shore, you're bound to capture them out hunting for food, hunting for materials, for gifts, and for wood, for burning things, for rituals, for whatever they did. And so you're bound to encounter them. And it was just very unjust. And unfortunately, I've talked to many African Americans who have never heard of the Ma'afa. They don't know about the Atlantic slave trade. They don't know about the Middle Passage. They don't know what any of that amounted to. And so when we look back at that, we have to respect where we've been to know where we are and understand where we're going. Yes, Brenda.
Look, pupil Brenda, because they didn't teach us this in school, so we would never know unless we're proactive to have a Shelton Smith on board to tell us, or a Rick McCain to tell us something. Because when the way you breaking this down, do you remember any of this being taught to us in school?
I cannot say that I do remember learning about this at school, but what I will say to your point, Brenda, that's why it's important that we as parents, as guardians, as village keepers, when we get information, that we share the information. We don't sit on the information, because part of the reason our young people are underdeveloped in the modern day world is because they don't know where they've been, therefore they don't know where they're going. Dig where I'm coming from? So that's part of the problem. And our families were so disconnected. That's why some of us function that way. We're dysfunctional because we were disconnected. During the Middle Passage and during slavery, they wanted to keep us ignorant. We couldn't learn how to read. It was against the law for a slave to know how to read.
Yeah.
HBCUs, our historical Black colleges and universities, were started for slaves post-slavery because they weren't welcomed in predominantly white institutions. Well, where can they be educated? So we started our own. Hence your Fisk University, your Tuskegee, your Alabama A&M, Tennessee State, my alma mater, Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So all of those institutions were started for us.
So, Shell, let me say this to you, because number one, you didn't learn the Ma'afa in school because they wasn't teaching it. They wanted you to learn about the Inca Indians more than anything else, because they didn't want to teach you about the cruelty of slavery. That definitely wasn't taught in my time. But when we talk about the Holocaust, why is this so important now for our generation to understand about the issues that African Americans or slaves at that time went through? Why is it so important for us to know about this? Because I know it's still not be taught in school, but why is it important for us to continuously lay out the platform of teaching people about the holocaustic slavery situations that we lived in as African Americans?
I think it's important for us to know about that, Rick, so that we can learn how to love ourselves and appreciate who we are. I think we would do better about ourselves. African American Black people should be the most unified group on God's green earth, because we have gone through so much, and most of the mistreatment that we've gone through has been done by oppressors. It's been done by other people. People talk about Black on Black crime, but it's not about that. We develop the mentality when we are not taught to love ourselves. We develop the mentality when we are taught that we are less than. We develop the mentality of low self-esteem or zero esteem because other people don't see the net worth that we have. And so when other people don't confirm things about us or validate things about us, it doesn't reaffirm what we need to know about us. And so these young people need to understand and know our history, the struggles that we've had. If we've had these types of struggles just to survive, why is it in 2024 that we're still struggling to get along with those that are designed to protect us, those that have been a part of keeping us divided and keeping us as less than? European, Caucasians, and other groups. It's not only Caucasians, it's other people that see us as less than and not equal to. And so I think it's important that we understand how we should see ourselves. We have to always work harder. This is why. You don't have time. Young Black King out there, I'm talking to that 15-year-old. You have one time to get it wrong. Because guess what? The playing field for you doesn't look like it is for the child that sits across from you in class or the child that lives in the next zip code over. The playing field for you is different. You had one time to get it wrong, and it's been like that since the inception of time. Yes, Brenda.
You know this hand make me think 90210, the zip code. That was a totally different zip code. But a comment here is from Miss Barbara Smith. If you guys didn't get it in school, you know I didn't. I never knew about the Ma'afa. Nope, I never knew about it neither. Right? They had taught her the Incas, just like the Incas and the Aztecs. That's what I learned to school. I don't remember learning none of that. We just didn't
So
have
here's the
that.
deal also. We know that politically correct, CPS gives out a curriculum. The teachers have to teach from that. That's it. That's all. They cannot deviate. Part of white control is we don't want to be brought to the forefront about our wrongs. We don't want to be reminded of our contributions to that, because oftentimes the conversation is, oh, slavery happened. That was a long time ago. We should forget about that. Let's sleep that under. No, that's the reason why Joe Biden made Juneteenth a national holiday, because slavery was already abolished by the time they found out about it in Galveston, Texas. So that's the reason why we now celebrate Juneteenth. Juneteenth is now viewed as the Black Independence Day, because that's when those slaves were released. And so we don't want to be called on that. But then we have someone who, to my point, who said Black people benefited from slavery because they developed skills. Right. Now let's make sense out of that.
Yeah.
That was a quote from Ron
for Florida.
DeSantis.
Yeah.
That was a quote from Ron DeSantis in Florida.
So
now let's talk about that. Let's unpack that. How is it that Black people develop skills from slavery? First of all, you didn't want Black people to even know how to read in slavery. You didn't want Black people to even be educated. So if you don't want them to be educated, you weren't teaching them no skills. So you thought it was a skill because they was a horseshoeman? You thought it was a skill because they was running bales of cotton back and forth for the master? What was the skill? You thought that it was the black woman that became a midwife to save the life of in childbearing? You thought that was a skill?
Mm,
Because she had been violently raped, which is why she was giving birth in the first place.
Yeah, or being a maid.
yeah, that
Um,
A
was a
mammy.
skill.
yeah,
A
mammy.
mammy, like Mammy
Yeah,
Bell in Roots,
yeah,
a
Mm-hmm.
mammy, raising
yeah.
everybody else's kids and then having her stripped from her.
Oh, well, let me just touch on that real quick. It was an article I read about the mammy, the maid, the house, you know what, or the field, you know what, had to breastfeed the other one's baby first and couldn't even breastfeed her own. Now that's worse than what we're going through right now about as a woman about our body. So I didn't produce this baby, whether out of wedlock or not. I produced this baby and I can't even feed my child first. I got to feed the white baby first. Now that's just to me too much of you're nothing but a milk machine for us going back to your property. You're not seen as a human,
Exactly.
but your husband raped me, so our kids, we ain't gonna say that, but our kids are brothers and sisters, but my child can't get fed. This one always angers me. I'm sorry.
I,
It's
I want to kind of get back
I know
to
you
the
do,
Mafa
but
thing there. So we ain't got them about 5 more minutes, Sheldon. So I want you to kind of do your points on that real quick.
Okay, so here's what I will offer you. I would say I encourage everyone during Black History Month to research the Ma'afa, the African Holocaust, because the slave trade was real, slavery existed, our ancestors experienced that. And what I will say to you in a transparent, real time, real talk for real people point is don't be surprised at who would put you back on the plantation if they could in
mm,
2024 during the month of February. Black History became Black History Week and it evolved to Black History Month. Every month in every year, there should be at least 2 weekends set aside to explore the African American experience. Our culture is rich. And because of the survivorship, the resilience, and the endurance, we deserve to have our culture and the exposed. Black people built the White House, slaves built the White House. So the president sits in the Oval Office that was built by slaves. This shouldn't be an underserved or afterthought type of mentality. And our right here in Chicago, we have black owned business, black owned and operated Gallery Guichard, but my good dear friend Andre Guichard and his lovely wife Frances as the curator. Gallery Guichard presents African artwork from the diaspora to the US. Andre is in contact with Nigerian culture artists over there that are showcasing and talking about the importance of African art, what it represents, the stories it tells, the history behind the exhibits. Those are the things that I encourage everyone to do. Visit Gallery Guichard, stop by there and take a tour and explore all that these things have to offer, because it showcases that's who we are.
Yeah.
That's our story.
Let me
And
just
I'm
say this.
thankful to God for Trinity United Church of Christ because under Dr. Pastor Wright, that's where I learned about the Ma'afa. He taught us and educated that. At Trinity, we are unashamedly Black and unapologetically Christian. We are Afrocentric and Afro-based. We are about culture and Christ. And so I learned about the Ma'afa at Trinity.
Let me say this also, and you made me forget my comment I was going to say on there, but um, it's important that we do learn this information about our history. We do have one thing. We went out to Alabama out there, and it was called the Legacy Museum. What I wanted to say about the Gashard, that's what I wanted to say.
Gallery
For
Guichard.
Yeah, Gallery Gashard. For those of you all that are listening, because it's this internet, so it's transferred all around the world. That's the Chicago area
Art
place,
gallery.
art gallery. Yeah. So if you're in Chicagoland, you can do that. But we went out to Alabama, and it's a It's called the Legacy Museum. And if you get there, Sheldon, I mean, it is powerful with the information they have on there. And I purchased this book. They show an example of when you're talking about the slaves who died and said they rather die in freedom than be in slaves. They
Yes.
show the slaves in the water, and they have like a water haze, and it is so powerful that it'll bring you to tears. So if you can. We was in what part of Alabama we was in?
Montgomery.
Montgomery, Alabama. It's the Legacy Museum.
And
It will blow you away. I mean,
Yeah.
they have this one exhibit where they actually show a ghost-like figure of an individual that was in the cell when they was enslaved and cells, talking to people, trying to find out why that this happened. It blew me away. I mean, I didn't want to walk out. I mean, Brenda
Right.
went ahead of me. I was in tears looking at some of that. And it's so important that we continue to teach our people about the Holocaust and the things that have happened to our people, because we not only will we forget, there are people who want us to forget.
Exactly. If someone takes away your history, they take away your existence.
Yep.
And that is the key factor as to why it's important that we keep teaching it, because they don't want to teach it in the state of Florida and other states. They ban the teaching of African American history. So we're talking about we didn't get it during an era when it wasn't banned. But now FAMU, Florida A&M University, which is an HBCU, is in Tallahassee, Florida. They can't teach African American history at an HBCU institution.
I was
That
gonna
makes
bring that
sense
up.
to me.
Yeah, because of the governor.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I was going to bring that up, that you got colleges, African American colleges, that cannot teach Black history at all, any kind of Black history in the state of Florida, and other Republican places are trying to follow suit because they don't want they don't want it taught anywhere, because they don't want their white children to see the horrific things that they've done to Black people. They just want it to be like he said. They learned to trade from that. Let's teach that.
I can't believe he said that. I mean,
I
I heard
believe
him
it.
say
I believe it.
but
Oh, I can believe he said
I
it.
can believe
I
it
can
too.
believe he said it. Because here's the woman running the other day, she said America wasn't racist.
Yeah, you talking about Haley?
Haley.
Yeah,
Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley.
What world was she living in?
My point exactly. And so that's what I'm talking about being dismissive. I know we're time sensitive here, but that's what I mean about being dismissive. We cannot allow other people to tell our story. We have to change our narrative from the way people see us in the modern day, but we have to teach our narrative adequately.
yeah. We need to go back to the time where we used to hear James Brown them say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud.
I'm Black and I'm proud.
We
proud of the skin you're in.
Right. I mean, but the history of what we went through, the Jewish people do that all the time with the 12 smooth stones and teaching the history of that and the Holocaust. They teach that all the time, and they want their children to know about it. Doesn't matter how long it is. We're the only race of people that want to make like we've overcome it. We don't want to talk about that anymore. But the silently other people in charge are speaking about it negatively to keep you behind, and they don't want you to see that you had a disadvantage.
And they're not telling facts.
Nope.
How dare you say Black people benefited from slavery because they learned a trade?
Yeah.
That's not learning a trade. That's not learning a trade.
Yeah,
Learning a trade is enrolling in a vocational trade school and learning a skill development.
Yeah, you learn the trade for yourself. You don't learn something to do things to someone else. They weren't learning a trade. They were forced to do a job or
it was
die.
survival. If you didn't do it, what, you beat to death?
Yeah, you hung or something like that. It's ridiculous. But going to the Nikki Haley thing, I know I didn't ran over my time too, but I can adjust. She said that, and I was saying to myself, did she not realize that Declaration of Independence, that there were certain states that didn't want to sign it if they removed the slaves, gave slaves freedom to slaves. They did not even want to be a part of the Declaration of Independence if they removed the part of them having slaves. All men are created equal was not meant for black people.
It was not. It was not. And people know that. She knows. She knows.
Yeah, she knows that.
She knows that. You're standing up trying to politicize, but you're making a fool out of yourself at the same time. Because you sound ignorant. The whole world knows that slavery existed.
Yeah,
At least be wise enough to say, I realized slavery existed. It was wrong. I would, had I been during that era, or if I could change history, that's something I would change. Be smart enough to say that. You're not even intelligent enough to figure a workaround in your speech.
Yeah, she's not.
No, it wasn't a bright thing to do. People don't think before they speak.
Yeah, and that's true. But the thing about it with that, and she's trying to get to her base. She's trying to take that Trump base of people who just seem to be blind, blind following the blind for some reason. I'm still in awe that people actually believe that this man cares for anybody. But
It's
that's
a cult.
totally different thing. That's a Holocaust within itself.
It is.
But Sheldon, I'm gonna give you like a few minutes to kind of summarize what we were talking about with the. I'm keep on saying it wrong. Ma'afa.
So thank you, Reverend Rick, and once again, thank you, my sister Brenda McCain, for once again inviting me to the McCain Train and Let's Stay Together Talk Radio on SOAR Radio. I am talking about. Tonight we've had a good time going down history and looking at the Ma'afa, which is the African Holocaust. The Ma'afa took place during the 16th and 19th centuries. There were millions of slaves that lost their lives violently and brutally in this Middle Passage. The slave trade, slaves, once again, Africans were seen as cargo, not humans. And so they were captured from their native land so that they could be sold. Africans were seen as a business deal. That's all it was in modern day terminology. It was a business deal. And it was Europeans. The first slave trade landed in Brazil. There were Spanish people involved. There were Europeans involved, and there were others involved. Some Africans ended up in your Jamaica, your Haiti, in the Caribbean, and they worked tobacco there. But at the end of the day, all of these people lost their lives, unfortunately, because they were not seen as human. They were seen as cargo. And as we sit today in 2024, we as Black people, Black men and women and children, are still fighting for equal liberty, civil rights, and equality for all.
That sounds so good. I'm just going to wrap it up and say we're still fighting to make sure that people don't look at us as cargo.
Yes, we are.
I'm going to say one thing. Sheldon will be back with us. We're going to be talking with him and a couple of students about affirmative action that's happening with these students, and he's going to bring some students in with us. Next week, we're going to have the Black Panther, so I do have Henry, and I'm working with Stan. You're welcome to drop in if you want to as well. To talk with that. And I think
Stan might be able to get you Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.
Yeah, I was wondering if we can get that because it was hard to get him on Black Wall Street.
Well, I sent you his direct number.
You know my Stan?
I sent you Fred Hampton's number.
Oh, did you? I didn't see that.
Fred Hampton's number.
Did you send it to me or did you send it to Brenda?
I sent it to Brenda last night.
Thank you. There you
But
go.
I thought that was Stan's.
I sent you both. I sent you both. I sent you Stan's and I sent you Fred Hampton Jr.'s.
I keep on telling you.
Again, I can resend it.
Send it to him.
I keep on telling you the star of this show is Brenda. Everybody go to Brenda. Which is nothing wrong because that's great.
Well, Brenda was on the phone with me. Was on the phone with me. And so I just sent it based off the
You
call.
know what? I mean,
I'll send it to you, Rick.
No. I mean, it's better that you send it. It's better that you send it to her because that way it gets her involved and giving me the
This
information.
time, send it to him because I'm not gonna be here next week. I ain't gonna be involved.
Yeah,
So-
she's not gonna be here next week. And I'm trying to get Kenny to join me in the thing, so you might want to join because it's gonna be me because Brenda's got a obligation she's got to fulfill. So she won't be here next week, and so I'm gonna get a chance to do the radio show the way it was originally intended for me by myself, and then Brenda just broke in. I'm gonna be in here too.
Oh, behind every
joking.
great man is a great woman. So that's
Say that.
I like that. I don't. It's not true, but I like that. It's not true. You know that. She.
I got Auntie
I'm not
Barbara
saying
on
I
here.
didn't say
She
you.
gonna cut you.
I didn't
off.
say you. The statement is not true
Why not?
because there's been a lot of good men that did not have a good. Sheldon, we need to talk about that one day.
Okay.
That's a good subject.
Okay.
Behind every good man is a great woman. Yeah, no.
You know Obama
Nah.
wouldn't been in office without Michelle.
Wait, you using examples. I'm just saying that ain't always true.
Yeah,
I can go
sorry.
back to Mandela. Think of that one because
Winnie,
Winnie started tripping at one
Right.
point in the power struggle.
yeah.
Because he was in jail for a while, and Winnie was like running things, and he came back, and everybody wanted to be under Mandela, and she like, wait a minute now.
She held down the phone.
But I'm just saying there's a lot of examples that I can bring up that I don't have the time for, with that statement.
That's a good brother to brother conversation.
Yeah, it is.
The brothers.
Well, you know what? I need your opinion to stay around for the LSTT relationship leather because that's need a male opinion. On
Okay,
that one.
we got to get our Stelton. We'll be seeing you again as always. We appreciate you, brother.
All
It's
right.
got to be you in the background, I'm sure, but we won't talk.
Well,
about
that's
that.
the African piece from Trinity from the Ma'afa presentation on Sunday. That is a part of the King's quarters.
That looks nice.
So
too.
that African
Yeah.
attire, and it's a whole big piece of setup. So
All right. Hey, we're gonna get out of here because I got to play some music. I thank God I got 50 minutes left. But one time we're gonna have Sheldon on the show as like a panel person where we can just spend the 2 hours with him, and I guarantee you that will not be enough because Sheldon is the one person can get on the show. I know Cherie Scott, we had her on the show; she could do it. But Sheldon's the one person that can be on the show by himself and provide
Give you
enough
that
information that we don't need a panel. We just need him.
Oh, work that out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm
appreciate you
available
always,
for
brother.
you all whenever you want me.
I appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good
All
night.
right.
Care.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to say that again. Is it Ma'afa? Ma'afa. The Black Holocaust. We're gonna be talking next week to some original Black Panther members that were back there in the Fred Hampton, and maybe we might get Fred Hampton Jr. To join the show too. It'll be a great thing. But we have at least 3 members from the Black Panther Party that was back there at the time of Fred Hampton Sr. That can discuss in good detail about what happened that day, and we're going to talk a little bit about that painful time when African Americans were getting killed just for fighting for equality. So be with us next Tuesday at 7:30. I'm almost sure we're going to go beyond 30 minutes on that subject because there's so much information that we can share. I'm going to play some music here real quick, and we're going to play a song. Because we had a cut off here, I'm just going to play a song. I think we already played the SOAR radio thing. We're going to play a song, and then we're going to come right back. Hey, this is Rick McCain along with my baby. See you in a few minutes. All right. Hey, hope you all enjoyed that. I'm trying to look at my thing here. What you got over there? I'm looking at this thing here.
I'm trying to finish because you didn't want that last story, but that football story, you had it up about the football player and his playing wife. That's kind of crazy there.
Yeah, I had this one story about this football player, and he plays for the 49ers. His name is Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk. someone that was criticizing his girlfriend, hit back on his girlfriend, criticizing him for dating regular and basic women. And it was a bad, terrible thing. And I'm assuming that this came from other African American women, which was interesting to me because I'm quite sure ain't nobody else from another race coming against a sister like this, because there should have been a landslide of negative comments about that. But it was about his girlfriend criticizing the player for dating a regular woman ahead of the Super Bowl. Her name is Rochelle Searchright. I'm saying it because it's in the article. Who has been in a relationship with with the young man for a certain period of time, and they were just saying that she's just regular. Described the woman as mid or basic, possibly due to the lack of filler Botox. Okay.
Wow.
Other injections or surgery work. One person went further enough to suggest that the 49 player makes too much money to have midwives. While others tweeted, glad that girlfriend would equal all the, I'm sorry, glad they girlfriend, that's what it says, which equals they all getting all cheating on. Is that what that says, right?
That's what it says.
Like,
so that person's
wow,
basic.
that person is basic with that English. But I thought it was interesting that someone would say that. I mean, you saw the picture of the young lady. She's not an unattractive girl. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's what he chose. And they've got a son in a relationship. So I don't quite understand why people are, people will sit there and say all kind of negative things. But if that brother's happy with her, be happy. I mean, people said that about Brenda. Why you did this basic brother you with? Basic and normal brother. You could have had something better, but she chose me.
I'm not going to comment on that, but I am going to comment on this story. As a woman, and as a black woman, which we know that's probably coming from, but then you don't know, I can't even say that because there's some other races that be coming hard after our African American men. But these women that's out there, the gold diggers thinking they're going to marry up and elevate, they have the fillers, the phony booty, rear, I said the Lord, the phony rear, the phony breasts, everything. Then they think every man like that. This man has a natural beauty. Only thing I see on her that she probably have on eyelashes, but that's his natural beauty. And that's, I don't know if he African or something. He see her as something that he probably want to spend the rest of his life with. So why not? That's what I don't get. Why are we knocking his choice in a woman? Because you're thinking, well, I got all of this. You could have came to me. He don't want you. He got what he wanted.
And that's the kind of world we live in today, where people are always knocking somebody. I mean, I think that one of the things they were saying, because she had, her goal is to be in cosmetologist. She wants to, own her own location, and they're probably thinking, well, you could be doing it better than that. She says she's pursuing a career in cosmetology. Now she has roughly 267,000 followers, so she's doing okay.
Get over
this cancel culture stuff is just ridiculous. I wish you would have stood up and said, Rick, you're not normal or regular. That, I'm not, you could have commented and said that, to help a brother feel better.
Well, see, when you talk out of the cups like that,
yeah,
I don't even feed into it because I didn't.
Okay,
I didn't
but now
regular.
you don't have to talk now while I'm saying something. But I think that it's people come up with some crazy stuff. I mean, that brother likes her. That's who he wants to be with.
Now you know what they want.
That's great.
The society have it fixed so bad that Rick and I noticed the other day watching a little reel, a woman putting phony cheekbones on her face, like silicone on her face, and then plumping up her lips. That's what society wants, the fakeness. And she's like, no, she's real.
And she's just a beauty. So we're going back on the show with everybody. All right, everybody, welcome back. Sword Radio, welcome back to Let's Stay Together Talk Show. Thank you all for Facebook and YouTube for staying with us as we go through our break. We're back on our radio show. Hey, speaking about radio shows, make sure you watch the JD Morning Show each Wednesday between the hours of 6 and 8 a.m. only on Soar Radio. You'll hear Justin, Kenny, and the gang talking about some exciting information that's going around the world. And Justin, having that music background, has a lot of tidbits he might share about the Let's Stay Together talk show. Not Let's Stay Together talk show. He may share about Soar Radio 2024 that's coming up. So you want to be able to do that. So make sure you listen to the JD Morning Show each Wednesday between the hours of 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. only on Soar Radio. Hey, speaking about being on Soar Radio, if you want to do your own radio show on Soar Radio, you can contact Soar at soarradio.com. That's Soar at soarradio.com. You can have a radio show on the air just like us. You can even go on Facebook. You can go on YouTube. You can go do Zoom things like we're doing, all here on Soar Radio. So if you have that desire to be on the radio, you have something, a passion that you want to talk about, I should say, make sure that you contact Soar at soarradio.com. We only say keep it clean. It ain't got to be spiritual, religious, but they'll let you know. Don't do nothing crazy. We ain't gonna have the KKK people getting on the show talking about we won't have radio. I was wrong with that. Forgive me. But if you want to have a radio show, you can definitely contact us at Soar at soarradio.com. Kitty just got me on that one. But that was the views of Rick McCain and not the Let's Stay Together talk show, Brendan McCain, or Soar Radio. So let's go on to our next topic, baby.
The WDIG and why did I get married? Our topic is be an example. I'm tired of you crying to me.
All right. So, hey, God had pushed this on me. And, sometimes when I be teaching sometimes in marriage ministries, I always go back to bringing married couples into the understanding of what God is looking for, requiring from them. And the Hebrews says, in Hebrew 13:4, it gives three different things here. But it says, let marriage be held in honor among all. And I come to find out a lot of times that, especially I'm talking to my Christian people, those who are not saved and haven't received the Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you can do that now by saying, Lord Jesus, I accept you as my Lord and Savior, and I'll live my life according to your will. In Jesus' name, amen. But for those who are saved and married, I want you to do God a favor. Stop crying about your marriage. Stop coming to God about your problems in your marriage and be an example. Stand up for your marriage. Honor it as God says. He says again, I read this again in Hebrews 13:4. Let marriage be held in honor among all. Too many times we want to cry, complain. It's my party and I cry if I want to about the marriage relationship that we have. But if you accepted this relationship and you are a Christian, you realize something very important that other people do not realize, that God is in the marriage. And how you honor him is basically by your words and your actions. And every time you want to complain about what your wife ain't doing, what your husband ain't doing, complaining about or looking at something only on your side and not, realizing that the relationship goes from God to you. And so if you are complaining about something, you've accepted God's choice for you. Now we can sit there and say, well, God didn't really choose me. Well, then now you got an issue because you went outside of God's will. If that's something that you chose, But I'm talking to those people who have made the commitment that this is the person they want to live the rest of their lives with. And yet, you've been in a relationship for 5, 10, 15 years, and you're still complaining and you're not being an example. I'm not saying that there won't be something to complain about, meaning that someone does something that you don't like. You don't need to complain about it. You need to talk about it and talk about it as being an example that God can see that you plan on using this situation to educate, to help, to give knowledge, to encourage others. One of the things that me and Brenda have always done in our relationship, we've been honest about the trials and tribulations that we went through. But we've explained how, through Christ, how we've gotten stronger in the relationship by following God's word, by honoring the relationship, and by trying every day to walk as an example. It's not easy. You have to give up some things. Selfishness is one of them. You cannot think of your own. I say this every time we're talking. The best relationship is a person that gives 100% and look for nothing, and the other person gives 100% and look for nothing. So they know that they're fulfilling the needs of that individual, and that individual is fulfilling their needs. Does that happen? No. But that is the goal. The Bible tells us to strive to be Christ-like. We should strive always in our marriage to be an example, not a complaint. I hear it too many times. I see it too many times. I've talked to too many people that are having problems in their relationships, and it's always someone else's fault. Instead of looking at it as a problem that needs to be resolved so you can be an example of how God blessed you through the storm of that issue, and you came out as pure gold. But we want to be like the world is now, the cancer culture. We want to complain about our marriage and say, he ain't being a child. She ain't been, you ain't being. And it takes two in this. So men, stop acting like you're so tough that you can't lower yourself to be an example for God to use. Your ego has to be removed. You know, you can't be that tough person around your brother. I don't care what she does. No. God is in that relationship, brother. He's the one that is looking at you and seeing how you're treating his bride. And if you continuously to do wrong, then where's the blessing come from? Where is your problems coming from? It's because you're crying about and complaining about it instead of working on it and saying, no weapon formed against my marriage shall prosper. We are going to decrease so God's wisdom can increase, so we can be a declaration of examples of encouragement and not just people that can complain. I'm going to let Brenda speak on a second. You know, she can talk about the women, but I'm going to let her speak about that for a second. What you got for me?
It takes work, as we say. Marriage is not for punks. But if you're going to be crying, as my husband put it, don't be crying all over the world to your girlfriends talking about your spouse. If you're going to be crying and you ain't got through the situation through some much needed communication with your spouse, and you could help someone else not go through what you just went through, do that. As again we say, don't sit on that information that you're holding that, okay, I'm out of it, but I ain't gonna tell nobody else how to get out of it. If you're tired of something going on in your marriage, on the person you need to talk to first is your husband, but you need to pray to God to make sure you work this thing on out. But our biggest thing as ladies, we will go to our village, our people who we know got our back. And I always say you might have, the three different ones. The one that gonna hear you out, gonna be on your side no matter what, and the other one who gonna start messing your relationship before it even surface. But whatever you choose to do, go to God first and go to your spouse and let them know that this is not working for us. As you say, I'm crying too much about what's going on over here. And a lot of couples say, let's keep what's going on over here. It doesn't need to be out. Everybody else needs to know what's going on and stuff. But when a person does that and they feel as though I can't talk to my spouse, and they're going out not for therapy, but to get someone to co-sign on what they're doing. Only other person, I'm gonna say, that need to co-sign on what's going on in your marriage is the 3-strand cord, and that's God.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but you don't need to be talking to anybody about your marriage. Not your girlfriend, not your sister, not your mother. You need to be going to God. The example comes from God. The wisdom comes from God. You can't have somebody on the outside provide you wisdom on the inside above God. When I was doing counseling for marriage, every time the person was talking to me, I was praying to God so that God can give me the answer for their relationship, because I don't know. People test a lie and counseling too. Like I said before, I had a situation where I had one was two of them were preachers. The woman was a preacher and he was a preacher, and they tried to use every kind of scripture they could against each other. And so I came into this to the counseling session. I said, we're not going to use the Bible today. I didn't bring mine. We're not using the Bible. What do you mean not going to be? I said, because I don't want to. I basically said, I'm tired of you all sitting here using the Bible to go against each other. I want you all to start off first with you understanding that you need to work together, and then bring the word of God in to your relationship for edification and can help you encourage each other, but not to destroy each other. And that's something, you have to be careful about. The words that you use, the actions that you do. You can't have someone speak to you about the problems and what is hurting them, and then you dismiss them, or you try to change it to it's something wrong with them instead of you. You've got to make sure that you look at it as this is God talking to me. And you got to see if that's the case. Because, let's be honest, people will lie. People will sit there and come to you as a, God was telling me that I need to, let you know. Don't do that. If you really want your relationship to flourish and have an anointing power of God, where you can be an example, don't use God as a weapon. If the Bible says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, how can you use God as a weapon and expect it to prosper? Because God is not the spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. He's not going to be a weapon to destroy or go against your marriage, because he's in the marriage. How do you destroy what you're in? That's, when Jesus was talking, he said, can Satan cast out Satan? Will Satan cast out Satan? No, he's not. He's not going to get rid of himself. What makes you think that you can use God as a weapon against your husband? I don't care if he doesn't go to church. You don't use God as a weapon. You use God as an encouragement. But again, men, you got to be able to listen. I see men, I say about men because we still have most of the church is women. You know, most of the, probably 80%, probably even more of that, of the church are women. And we need to get men back into the church and understanding their rightful ownership in Christ. But marriage is not something that we use as a weapon against each other. And unfortunately, we allow our emotions, our problems, everything. And we get defensive. We don't want to listen to each other. And that's the sign of Satan showing us that I was worried about your season of waiting. But I didn't have to, because you didn't come out with anything. If you heard my sermon, I shouldn't say sermon, my dissertations earlier about the season of waiting, I don't have to worry about you coming out strong if you never tried to receive anything when you were there. In your marriage, if every day you're not, and again, I'm going to read this, Hebrews 13:4, let marriage be held in honor among all. And that means every day. If your marriage is not something that you honor, and you will not take a back seat to your issues, your problems, your frustrations, and you allow that to supersede the marriage that you're in, it will never be strong enough to fight against the wiles of the day of Satan, of the devil, as it says, because you have placed you ahead of God. Your feelings, your emotions, your trauma, your conflict, what you don't like. I don't like this about him. I don't like that about her. She ain't doing that. He ain't doing that. And it's hard for someone to share with you when you've already built up a defense against anything they're going to say. So be careful. You might win, but the relationship losing. And you don't want to be in a situation where every day you're not honoring anything about the marriage. You're dishonoring it because you don't even realize that when he say, this is the day that the Lord has made, that day was also made to honor your commitment of marriage. So stop crying. Be the example. You're in church. I mean, we got some churches that got marriage ministries. And some of the people in head of the marriage ministry is just as toe up to the flow up than the people they're trying to minister to. And they'll still minister to you. They'll still tell you things, but they're not following any of the things that they say themselves. And I'm not saying that other marriages don't have problems, because we've been married for 30 years. We taught marriage ministry and we went through problems, but what do you do with them? Are you using them for good? All things work together for good. We like saying that stuff, but are you using it for good? Or are you just using it for your good? And if we can stop with the crying and honor the relationship so God can present us to someone and someone can say, you all's relationship just looks so, you all seem like y'all love each other and care for each other so much. Why is that? And that has happened to us. And we let them know, hey, it ain't that easy. And we have our problems too, but this is what we do. And it's always something that follows God's example. It ain't me. You know, people used to say, to Brenda, I want a Rick. No, you don't. Okay. I don't have too many men coming to me and said they want a Brenda, but I know there's a lot of them out there that wanted a Brenda. So they,
Why are you talking past tense?
I haven't had anybody. It's not, stop tooting your own horn here. I didn't have nobody say that anything to me now, but I'm just
be bold though.
But I'm just saying, Women do that in jest, but they may be telling the truth because they think that being with Rick, because Rick seems like he's a nice guy, he follows God, he's honorable, he's devoted, blah blah. But you still have to go through some trials and tribulations. There's only one person that was good, and that's God. But what makes Rick good is who he follows, not who he is. It has nothing to do with me.
Now, the word is he's obedient.
Yeah, he's obedient. Yeah. What makes
you
him
have a good man,
right.
You need an obedient God.
That's good. Bringing that back. That's good. But this is the thing that I wanted to talk about to married people. This is on the real. Stop complaining. Get your act together. Get back into your scriptures. Go back to your first love, as they did in the Ephesians. I think the Ephesians. Let's go ahead. But get back to your first love and start remembering what you loved about that person, and then redevelop that. Hey, we used to, let's get back to that. Hey, we've had some problems. Hey, let's honor this relationship. I don't want to hear somebody, well, it's cheaper to keep, or we've been in here long enough. We might as well, stay together. I guess, no. Nobody wants to be in a relationship unhappy, especially God. I mean, we keep forgetting that he's in there. Nobody wants to be in that. You have to make it honorable. God's not going to do it for you. He's going to be there to help you. He can guide you. But you have to make the commitment that that's what you want to do. I could talk about this a lot, but we ain't got that much time left. We got a couple of more things we want to talk about. But again, stop crying. Be an example. Go back and rekindle your marriage, and then share with others about the trials and tribulations that you went through and how you were able to overcome them by following God's word. Amen.
Amen. A great message.
What you got for me?
Want people still check out Club 50 this month. We're gonna have a great guest joining us. Check out the club50.com. You can read all of the other interviews that I was allowed to talk to. Some great people interviewed them. So check it out at theclub50.com. Also, Ife Designs is, looking for you. Prom's coming up soon, people. So that's usually my busiest season. So get those orders in here. Valentine's Day is next week. So if you need some last minute things to make that day extra special, you could connect with me on Facebook. Message me if you got my number. Call or text me. So next thing is this LSTT relationship letter. Dear LSTT, okay, I read this on Facebook. The situation, a woman was dumped by her side guy after 2.5 years, and she's feeling some type of way, Rick, and she wants to tell his wife. So you're hurt and you want to hurt his wife. I'm trying to wrap my head around this situation. You were his side piece, not the main dish. LSTT, should this be a lesson learned and a cautionary tale to leave married men alone and stop thinking that a married man is going to leave you for his wife? Sincerely, just move on.
Yeah, a couple of things about that. So that many men have left their wives for side pieces. That happens. As far as her wanting to hurt him because she was the side piece and his wife was the main dish or main meal, obviously that main meal didn't satisfy him enough because she became part of the side piece, and the side piece became part of the main meal. I think the thing about it is that the disappointment of that you have decided that you want a man that is already with someone else. You should have enough confidence in yourself that you can find a man solely for you and not someone else's man. We live in this kind of world where we're competitive and we think we can take somebody, or they don't look good enough, or I'm look better than her, or she's just basic and normal, like we just read about this young lady here. Have enough pride in yourself that you know that you don't have to stoop low to be able to reach high. Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. Then it's time for you to go high and let that go. I mean, there's no reason for you to hurt his wife and tell on anything, because you was a part of the problem. It's not going to make her feel any better. You decided to jump into something. I don't know if you knew at the beginning, but you decided to jump into something. You found out about it and you kept on going. The only reason why you want to hurt somebody is because you get hurt. So, take your butt whooping and go on about your business, and let her, through osmosis, whatever, learn about her no good husband who decided he just wants to cheat on somebody because he's not happy with the meal he has at home anymore. He needs to get him a happy meal somewhere else.
Oh, I'm over here like,
I don't know why you keep on saying,
Miss Move On. Miss Move On. I mean, wow. It's sad that she don't have enough self-esteem to realize that she can be with a person that's not married. But to intentionally try to hurt someone because you was hurt, it doesn't work that way. That karma is really bad, and it's gonna come back on you. Now, the thing that gets me with this babe is that she posted this stuff out there trying to seek for attention for people to be on her side.
Did she post a picture of the guy on there too?
No.
Okay, well, that's good enough.
Now, you got a comment with this. Mr. Smith said, although she's hurt, that particular situation could not have had realistic long-term goals. You didn't consider her hurt when you were involved with the man.
There you go.
What's that thing? But didn't care about her at all. But see, this is the thing, as we know all too well with women.
Yeah, and I guess,
woman is scorned, they go head to toe and trying to hurt him, trying to hurt his happiness with his wife. If I could hurt her, and it's sad, but that's how they do. If I could hurt her, maybe it would mess up the relationship, and he'll come back to me.
Well, that's
crazy.
As they say, hurt people hurt people. She wasn't concerned about that woman's hurt because she wasn't hurt. She was hurting her by being in a relationship with him. I mean, she has equal guilt as well, but I'm still saying that the brother. I mean, you're supposed to be the one taking care of the family, protector. And you don't. You shouldn't be doing that. I mean, we all have we all get tempted by desires of other women. But you have to, be an example. We just talked about that in the marriage. Stop crying and be an example. This guy decided that, he just weak and decided he wanted to, something else was out there and he can get it and go ahead. And we never think about how much we're hurting someone until we're hurt.
Wow. So move on. Sincerely move on. I know the story had to be, I can't even say shocking anymore because the world is so different. But thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to have to look for this on Facebook. But thank you for sharing that.
So her thing was sincerely move on? Was that the thing? Sincerely move on? So sincerely move on, move on. That's what you need to do, girlfriend. Move on.
Move on. Let it go.
Yeah.
Because you blocking your blessings of having a good man, a good single man waiting on this man.
Yeah. And the good man coming into her relationship, she gonna be questioning him. Where you going? Because you still holding on to something else. Drop that drama.
Wait a minute. Speaking of, babe, the thing, did you see that about Scottie Pippen's son, Michael Jordan's son, and Scottie Pippen's ex-wife? That's been
out there a long time. What you gonna say?
No, that she wanted they share passwords on the phone and she initiated it, they said, for she could check his messages because she's so much older than him. And I'm like, man, if you got to go into, did they just get married or something? You have to go into this just not trusting him, then there's a problem.
You know, and some of this stuff I don't even believe. I mean, I don't. I'm hoping you're not that stupid to get on national television and tell somebody I want to check his thing because I'm
Yes.
older than him.
Well, not that
I
she
mean,
older, but
I mean,
she-
I'm just saying it. You know, some of this stuff just shut up. I'm sorry.
Right, just-
Stop giving all your information out like that. I mean, you know, yeah, and just because Brenda want to check my phone all the time, I don't say nothing.
please, I don't do none of that. I'm like, nope.
You know, I'm like, you know, it's crazy. What's the next thing we get?
I don't know, I gave you 2 extra stories here.
No, don't you have plays?
Oh my. Let me pull this up on my phone.
Okay, so the plays that we got a chance to see, since she doesn't have that available, we went to go see Highway Patrol. We went to go
Yes.
see Selling Cobble. I think that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, because
I think
did
we
a
I don't know if we
magic
talked
one.
about In the Heights the last time, did we?
no, we probably did.
So we saw a couple of plays out there. I don't know if Brenda's going to get to the thing, but talk about Highway Patrol first.
Right. Highway Patrol is at Goodman Theater, and it was phenomenal to me. It is starring Dana Delaney, and she's telling it it's something that happened to her. What is we call it, catfishing. It happened to her in real life, and she go through the vulnerability of sharing her emotions, getting attached to this young guy named Cam. And it was just so, it was put together so well that in the first half, babe, I was like, how is it really a boy? You know, I had to catch on to this. Is it really a boy? Because the little actor, was talking to her. So you'd assume she just had this relationship on Twitter and email with this little guy, and then found out that it was all a host.
Yeah, and so for those of you all just listening to the show, we also do we're theater critics in the Chicagoland area here, and we do reviews for plays. You can see the information on Let's Play Theatrical Review.com. That's Let's Play Theatrical Review.com. And we went to go see 3 plays, and this one we're talking about now is at Goodman Theater
Until the 18th.
until the 18th. And it, I thought it was very good. I know that some people just gave it recommended. I thought it was very interesting and genuine for Dana Delaney. Some of y'all may know her in certain things. I think in Body of Proof is one of the things. She played in Tombstone as well, which is one of the movies I like.
China Beach.
China Beach. And at the time she was doing Body of Proof, she had to do some promotions for the series. And at that time, the new thing that was out for social media was called Twitter. And she got on the Twitter page and met this person that was kind of doing a catfish. The whole story that she shares on there is suspenseful. It's kind of eerie, and it really captures your attention. I did see somewhere someone said it was boring, and I didn't think that. I thought I was pleasantly surprised with how much I did enjoy it. I mean, it just been her great storytelling and the narrative in itself. They did an excellent job with the staging, and they had the Twitter thing up there and certain things. It was just very. It was simplistic, but it was excellent. I mean, it wasn't nothing fancy, but the way they did it and set it up was very nice. And the young man, I can't remember his name, he was phenomenal on the show, and I think you'll definitely see a little bit more of him. I got the book down here, but I'm not going to reach down to get it up. But it was great. So then we went to go see Selling Cobble, and that was at Northlight?
That was at Northlight Theater. It's another 4-star play, and it would be playing until February the 25th. If you didn't know the story about the Taliban in Afghanistan, this took you right there in the apartment to see what was going on. It was, that was a riveting play to me, because I just never even put myself there to see what they went through.
So when you say right there in the apartment, basically it was a couple that was having a situation where the brother was being, they were looking for him because they wanted to kill him because he used to be working with the
The
Taliban,
American.
but he used to work with the Americans, I think, against the Taliban as a translator. And they were looking for him. And his sister was hiding him in the house, and they were trying to get him out of the country. But first, they were trying to see his child because he had a newborn baby, and his wife was there in the hospital, but he could not come to see her because they were looking for him. And the Taliban, after the United States left Afghanistan, they were hunting down everybody, any translator they had. And I think the consensus, they killed about maybe 3,000 people that they felt that was translators at that time. And it's a very surreal story because you get an in-depth look at a family struggling with, the horror of living their lives under this regime that's really just, threatening and killing people for any reason that they believe that they've assisted the United States or they were against the Taliban. And it was very good. I enjoyed it very much.
Yes, this other one is in Lincolnshire.
Let me just say this: Northlight is in Skokie, Illinois.
Right. And this the next one I'm taking you to is in Lincolnshire, Illinois. It's at Marriott's Theater. It is in the Heights, and it's playing until March the 17th. That was vibrant. The dancing was beautiful. The story, the culture, everything was just so full of life watching that. Just the people in that area that had big dreams to move on and to do certain things. And they just, they make the best of their environment.
Yeah, and the Heights is basically about Puerto Ricans that have come to to the New York area, which is Washington Heights, and they call their areas the barrio. And they are trying to live the American dream and some of the trials and tribulations they had living in a community that possibly was not given the best opportunity to advance and succeed. They're trying to change the area and gentrification for that area, and these people are trying to live. And the woman who takes care of the star of the show actually wins the lottery, and that situation kind of changes things. But the music is great. I did think it was the first time I've been to Marriott where I thought the orchestra was about 2 octaves higher than the singers, which kind of distorted some of the great singing. But one of the things I've always enjoyed about going to Marriott Theater is they put on some great productions. If you're in the Chicagoland area, it's like about 40 miles away, but you definitely will enjoy. If you're into theater and you just want to see a great plays, you typically will be able to go out to Marriott Theater and see some great plays. They got what do they call? I forgot the name of something in the Giant Peach. James and the Giant Peach for kids that are out there, and the kids' productions are great. So. You want to take a nice little trip with your kids to Marriott for see James and the Giant Peach, which is coming up. They got us down for that, but I typically get at 10 o'clock in the morning going to a play with a lot of kids. I think we did that once before at
You got to be ready
Shakespeare.
for that one.
Yeah, you got to be ready for that one. So I'm always looking for somebody that wants to be a theater critic for the kids shows. But we'll probably try to get out there. But it's all 3 of those plays were excellent, and we really enjoyed them. And so, again, if you're trying to find out some information about the theater for us, you can go to letsplaytheatricalreview.com, and we appreciate you looking at the review and giving some comments. So we're about through with the show. We got about maybe 3 minutes left. Baby, do you want to say anything?
I do. Last night we had the pleasure of going to a jazz session at the Green Light
Theater.
Theater.
Green Line Theater.
Green Line Theater, starring our girl, Robin Da Silva. It was a jazz night. First Mondays, they always have jazz. And when I say this young lady, she's a triple threat with acting, singing, and storytelling. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know you did.
I'm not sure if they're doing it just every Mondays or how they're doing it, but Contact
First Monday.
Contact Green Line Theater. It's in the what's that? What's the 55th?
Garfield.
Thank you, Garfield area. You'll definitely enjoy it. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, you just want to hear some good jazz. The storytelling that she does on there is very good. It's very touching. Story of love and the trials and tribulations of being in love. And she uses different genre of music and does an excellent job. Hey, we got to get out of here. We've got about a couple of minutes left. We want to appreciate you all coming on the show with us. Make sure you join us next Tuesday. We're going to have members of the Black Panther family. We might even get Fred Hampton Jr. on the show with us as well. This is going to be talking about the history of the Black Panther family. So we definitely want you to be out there. You may want to ask some questions about it. They were there when Senior, went through the shooting and the police and the lying and all that stuff like that. And they've got a lot of trivia and information they're going to share. So make sure you're with us next Tuesday at least 7 o'clock, 7:30 is about to get on the show. And you'll be seeing me on my own because Brenda will be on assignment doing her own little thing. But we'll definitely check you out. So, hey, make sure you check out the JD Morning Show tomorrow from 6 to 8. And this is Rick McCain along with my baby, my girl, my boo, signing off for the Let's Stay Together talk show. See you next Tuesday, 7 a.m. 7 p.m. p.m. You coming a.m., we ain't going to be there. All right. Hey, for those of you all on Facebook, YouTube, appreciate you. I'm looking for somebody on YouTube. I'm going to have to do some kind of award thing. Maybe I'll be like the mayor of Dalton. That y'all have to live around here. Give out $1 million of other people's money. But we're going to do something on YouTube. I don't know how many people are listening because I don't get a chance to look at that themselves. But we're going to have to do some things on YouTube to get more people, to just get people aware of the show if they're not aware of it. And we appreciate it. Once again, we always want to thank the Rockford GOAT, Kenny Crawford, for helping us out. We couldn't do the show without him. And hey, make sure you get your tickets, Ticketmaster, for the 2024 SOAR Radio Awards. I'm excited about that because that following Tuesday, we will be at the SOAR studio doing our show. For the first time, we're going to be at the studio, and we're going to be actually looking at Kenny as he decides still not to talk to us on the show. We're going to be there looking at him like, you ain't going to say nothing.
And
He's just going to look at me like, So we're going to be there, and so I'm looking forward to those 2 nights. But definitely, if you love gospel music, you need to head out to Rockford for the 2024 SOAR Radio Awards. It's going to be awesome because it always is. We'll see you next week at 7 p.m.
What?